If you are building software with artificial intelligence right now, the ground is completely shifting under your feet. The era of paying a massive premium for every single prompt is officially over. In 2026, enterprise buyers are no longer just asking what a model can do, they are asking how cheaply it can do it. We are currently in the middle of a brutal global AI price war, and the companies that adapt are going to win the decade. Let's break down exactly what is happening.
To understand this massive shift in the market, you have to look at the disruption coming from Chinese open source models. For a long time, the massive general-purpose models from US labs dominated the enterprise space. But over the last year, Chinese developers have completely rewritten the rules of AI economics. Labs like DeepSeek, Alibaba, and Moonshot have aggressively undercut Western frontier models by an order of magnitude. For example, DeepSeek's V4 Pro model now costs just 87 cents per million output tokens. To put that into perspective, that is roughly 34 times cheaper than OpenAI's GPT 5.5.
This pricing strategy is driving a massive adoption surge across the industry. In fact, Chinese open source models recently hit 46% of US API tokens on OpenRouter during peak weeks, which is a massive jump from just 11% the prior year. And they are expanding their ecosystem rapidly. Alibaba's QN family alone has spawned over 113,000 derivative models on the Hugging Face platform. These models are not just cheap, they are highly capable, matching frontier performance on high-volume tasks like code completion and document retrieval. But this hyper-growth has created a completely new challenge for the industry: server capacity. DeepSeek's pricing has been so disruptive and demand has been so high that they recently became the first major AI lab to introduce peak-hour surge pricing. Starting in mid-July, DeepSeek will double the price of its V4 models during the busiest times of the day. Output tokens for their Pro model will temporarily rise to roughly $1.70 per million. Even doubled, this stays incredibly cheap by Western standards, but it highlights a massive industry truth: serving AI is incredibly expensive. And the Western tech giants are feeling the pressure to respond. Meta, which spent years giving its models away for free, just entered the paid API business for the first time. On July 9th, 2026, they launched MuseSpark 1.1, charging $1.25 per million input tokens. They explicitly priced this to undercut rivals, coming in at about 25% of what OpenAI and Anthropic charge for similar tiers. Why are we seeing this aggressive race to the bottom? Because enterprise budgets are quite literally breaking under the weight of AI costs.
Let's look at a real-world example of this budget crisis. Uber recently gave thousands of its engineers access to AI coding agents, and the adoption rate skyrocketed to 84% in a single month. The result? Uber exhausted its entire 2026 AI budget by April. To stop the bleeding, they had to cap each employee's monthly AI spending at $1,500. When frontier AI is put into full production, it burns through cash at an unsustainable rate. This is why developers are completely abandoning the idea of using one massive, expensive model for everything. We are seeing a massive structural shift toward intelligent model routing. If a task requires complex, multi-step reasoning or high-level strategic analysis, you might still pay a premium for a flagship model. But for routine data extraction, classification, or basic coding, companies are routing those tasks to cheaper models like DeepSeek V4 Flash, which costs an incredible 14 cents per million input tokens. The difference between paying $5 and paying 14 cents for the exact same output is how companies will survive the next 5 years.
The question now isn't whether open source and international models are capable,
It is whether your business is agile enough to integrate them into a unified system. Amazon's CTO recently warned developers that cost must be treated as a core part of system architecture. You simply do not need the highest-end model to solve every single problem. The market is moving strictly toward cost efficiency. The companies that learn to deploy AI cost-effectively will win the decade. We will be tracking exactly how these API battles unfold over the coming months. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated, and I will see you in the next breakdown.